Have you ever found yourself taking comfort in playing older games compared to new releases? Do you find yourself lamenting modern gaming? Perhaps you just stare at your Steam library for longer than you'd like to admit. With the first DLCs for Pokémon Scarlet and Violet leaving much to be desired, did you go back and play the earlier Pokémon games? If so, you're not alone. In the modern age, we tend to take for granted the longevity of video games. Most gamers are familiar with the recent shutdowns of online gaming storefronts, with the 3DS, Wii U, and Xbox 360 next on the chopping block. 87% of games released before 2021 can no longer be reasonably and legally acquired by the average person. It's hard to imagine that any modern game could suddenly disappear, right? With some games being digital only, having no physical copies, they very well could. A small community that I'm a part of recently experienced this reality firsthand. In August of 2021, Video Horror Society, aka VHS, was announced. It was a free-to-play 4v1 asymmetric action tribute to 80s monster movies, developed by Hellbent Games. The trailer took a lot of people by surprise, myself included. For the uninitiated, the asim horror genre has been dominated by Dead by Daylight for many years. Other studios have tried their hand at the genre and ultimately failed. If DVD was Goliath, VHS was yet another David. But over 300,000 people signed up for the closed beta, hoping to score their own key to the beyond. But this video isn't really about VHS. This last summer, in June of 2023, Hellbent Games announced that they were sunsetting VHS and removing it from the stores in the following months. It had been publicly playable for just under a year. As a partnered content creator with the game, it was disheartening news. The community was devastated, and many of us wanted to find a way to preserve the game. Despite everything, I really hoped the game could have found its audience. Hell, I got one of my favorite shinies while playing VHS. A shiny Rayquaza. This game that I loved and enjoyed now had an expiration date, and the clock was ticking. I had this familiar ringing in my ears, along with the sound of doors opening and closing. My stomach knotted, and a fleeting feeling of anxiety and uncertainty began to form. It was now the weekend after the announcement, and that familiar ringing and sense of anxiety persisted. Summer was off to a rainy start here in the Pacific Northwest, and I was playing Pokemon Shield, shiny hunting Dynamax adventures. I was trying to get a legendary mascot from Gen 3, Groudon. Gen 3 is my favorite generation of Pokemon games, and I clocked in at 43 resets when I caught a shiny Combustion, another Gen 3 Pokemon. The coincidence motivated me to find and play my old Pokemon Ruby pack. I started looking through my room and ended up finding my old GBA SP and my case. I didn't find my Ruby pack or my twin brothers, but the used market is a hell of a place to find Pokemon games, my lord. I found a good deal on a Ruby cartridge, and I wasted no time booting it up. It still had a save file on it, and the original trainer's name was Adam. He had all 8 badges, all 3 Reggies, and he cleared the Elite 4. He didn't have a Groudon, unfortunately. I was going to reset his game, but I felt like I couldn't erase the save with everything he's gone through with his Pokemon. With the end of VHS still fresh in my mind, I decided that I would do whatever it takes to preserve Adam's Pokemon. In case you're unfamiliar, the Pokemon games have a feature to move your Pokemon up from one game to the next, with a few caveats and restrictions. It requires you to have certain games, hardware, and software, including Pokemon Transporter and Pokemon Bank on the 3DS, which is no longer accessible to download since the 3DS eShop shut down in March of 2023. Thankfully, I had already had them downloaded, but holy moly, the prices of these physical copies. I spent this summer collecting many of the Pokemon games. Besides Pokemon Ruby in June, I got 2 copies of Emerald, one clean and the other with a beat up label, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Sapphire, and Pokemon Black 2. In order to transfer from Gen 3 to Gen 4, you need to have a Gen 4 save that's completed, which means beating the game and acquiring the National Pokédex. I opted to do this on my Heart Gold because Heart Gold and Soul Silver doesn't have a cap on how many Pokemon you can transfer per day. You then need to visit Fuchsia City. This will grant you the migrate option on your menu screen whenever there's a GBA game in the Nintendo DS GBA slot. Now, you transfer your Pokemon from Gen 3 to Gen 4. Transferring to Gen 5 requires access to the Poké Transfer Lab, located on Route 15. Like Gen 4, you must acquire the National Dex first. You'll also need a separate DS or 3DS system for each cartridge. You put only the Pokemon you want to transfer in Box 1 on your trainer's in-game PC. Talk to the guy in the Transfer Lab, then connect through Download Play. Select the Pokemon you want to transfer, and play that very annoying mini game. Okay, we are almost done. From here, you'll need your 3DS with the Gen 5 cartridge inserted. Open Poke Transporter and transfer your box of Pokemon. Next, swap to the Gen 6 or Gen 7 game, boot up Pokemon Bank, select your game, and move your Pokemon from the transfer box to Bank 1. Now all you have to do is transfer from Pokemon Bank to Pokemon Home. First things first though, I have to beat Heart Gold. On the 1st of July, my brother and I were going to meet his friends for some dim sum and watch the Mariners play. I brought my DS and was soft resetting Black 2 for a shiny starter. I still needed a Gen 5 game to be cleared in the post game. It was a blast. Having fun with some good old baseball and Pokemon, and the win was the cherry on top. When I got back home, I found out that
I had Sapphire. I had Ruby. You had the blue one, I had the red one. Damn, that's crazy, dude.
Whoops, turns out that I was team Blue Cart.
It was all a lie, man. I really thought I had Ruby.
Thankfully, I found my older sister's stash of old Pokemon games in my Sapphire pack, though it was saved over with the trainer named Ash. I was just glad to have physical media. Plus, these secondhand Pokemon prices, geez Louise. It was getting towards the end of summer and I wasn't making too much progress on Heart Gold due to my full-time job. So being quirky, I decided to test my luck on some used cards for 100% completion for Gen 5, and I got super lucky. Like super lucky. Late summer is always a hectic season for my job, and I was getting swamped. Plus, I was planning for my October fundraiser for National Breast Cancer Foundation. It's my 3rd consecutive year. I was on track to get the capture footage done for the Pokemon transfer. I got the rest of the carts and tech, and shout out to Owl's Music and Games. They have a specialist there that not only repairs old consoles, they even add mods. I got my 3DS modded to capture the footage. While working through Heart Gold and playing Gen 3, I got a ping on Discord. National Breast Cancer Foundation reached out to me back in May to do a collab with Razer to make a video about my mom's story regarding how breast cancer affected my family. With my full-time job and streaming, it didn't hit me how all of this was connected. Cancer is more than just a diagnosis. It's fraught with hardship, trauma, uncertainty, healing, and progress. Not just for those diagnosed, but for the family as well. Being in that situation where you have no real impact on the outcome often leads to feeling helpless. The memories came flooding back when I was 7 years old and I didn't really know what was happening. At that time, we were in the middle of a big move and we were in a hotel waiting for it to be finished, and my mom was going through her chemotherapy treatment. At that time, I couldn't make sense of it all. The only thing I could wrap my head around was Pokemon. It was simple. Collect them all, beat the gyms, and win. It was one thing within my control and helped me and my siblings get through that time of our lives. While a shutdown of a video game isn't the same shared experience as witnessing a loved one go through breast cancer treatment, the feelings came crawling back. With the shutdown of VHS, I was once again bearing witness to outside forces changing something in my life that brings me joy. That personal feeling of stomach knotting, anxiety, and uncertainty, the sound of opening and closing doors in my head began to manifest. The multiple heavy hotel doors opening and closing came from my dad taking my mom to her treatment, along with other guests roaming the hotel. At that moment, I could understand why I took refuge in Sapphire again. After taking a moment to myself, I responded to Kat and contacted my editor to get recording on that side project. In August of 2003, my mom took a mammogram and it detected a cancer in early stage, the size of a pea on the right side. Around the time of this diagnosis, we were in the middle of a big move. We were staying in a hotel for about the duration of my mom's treatment while they were finishing our house. I was about 7 or 8 years old when this happened. I knew my mom was sick and I felt helpless. All I could do was be her son, carry groceries, and watch over my little sister. I just vividly remember spending that summer on my Game Boy Advance SP, playing Pokemon Sapphire, thinking if I can be a Pokemon champion and beat this game, my mom can beat her breast cancer. After 4 rounds of chemotherapy and 6 weeks of radiation, my mom was cancer-free and we had a new house to celebrate in. It's going to be about 20 years since my mom's survivorship beating breast cancer. This is why I do what I do now. The end of summer in my book kicks off with PAX West. Still working through Heart Gold, I brought my Pokewalker to capture some Pokemon and watch to help me with the remaining gym battles. I enjoyed checking out the booths for AAA, AA, and the indie games. This PAX was a little different. For the first time stateside, we had a Nintendo Live. You had to enter a raffle to get a ticket. When I got to the Nintendo Live section, oh my god, it was great, but that merch line was so horrendous. Regretfully, I left my Switch and my 3DS back at home, so I couldn't make any progress on my Heart Gold. The only progress I could make was on my Pokewalker, getting the steps in, playing the little mini games, and acquiring those Pokewatts. That was my only escape out of the Nintendo Live merch line. In my opinion though, it was well worth it though. My mom was out of town during Labor Day when she contracted COVID. Did I mention I really hate summer? After diligently masking for 3 years, I contracted COVID and missed my sister's wedding back in the summer of 2022. Now, with this summer, my mom caught COVID. Plus, as someone who grew up in the Pacific Northwest, I despise the heat. The sun beating down all the time, and so many folks crowded everywhere. Besides, I prefer fall and winter. Misty rain, fog, pumpkin pie, holidays, and snowboarding. During that time of taking care of my mom, I was able to clear out the gym badges, beat the Elite Four, go through Kanto so I can clear the cart. September was finally coming to an end, and after weeks of isolation and care, my mom tested negative for COVID. Originally, I wanted this video out before VHS shut down earlier in September, but I just couldn't get the video out and a lot of personal stuff happened. This last summer really put into perspective the fragility of life, the importance for caring for family, and how trauma in our youth shaped the way we cope as adults. At least 20 years from my mom's survivorship beating her breast cancer, I am no longer helpless. It was healing for my inner child to care for my mom while she was recovering from COVID. It made me appreciate the time I still have with my family. Also, after a summer of remembrance, introspection, care, and preservation, the project was complete. After finishing all the transfers, Adam's Pokemon were now in my Pokemon home, not forgotten on an old game cartridge. Alright, you are at the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. I'm recording this like a day or two before it releases. I'm not at my usual place because I am house sitting these little guys. It's Momo, Hallie. Mo, what? What, Mo? You look like the sticker Momo peeking. Look at her. We are soft resetting for a shiny starter in Pokemon Sapphire. We're at 295 resets. I had fun recording this video, and like it was a summer project. It took a while to get this video recorded and edited because summer was really busy. I was focusing on getting things ready for the charity stream. So originally it was supposed to be done around like the week of October 4th. That was the week that VHS was sunsetting, and I wanted to get this video out to kind of talk about VHS but also talk about what's upcoming and everything like that. It was really derailed, but you know that's life, right? You gotta roll with the punches and everything. We have 1 day or 2 left in the charity stream to fundraise for National Breast Cancer Foundation. Hopefully by the time this video is uploaded, we still have 1 or 2 more days left to fundraise for National Breast Cancer Foundation. I would love to go for more, and you know, this is what this video is about too. You know, if you have the means and you're able to, we'll have a link in the description below for you to donate to the charity fundraiser, and I'll leave the fundraiser up for like maybe a couple more days. And if you guys are still watching this video months, weeks after October, we'll just put a general donate button to National Breast Cancer Foundation. If we can get any last minute donations on there, I'd really appreciate it. We have a lot of cool incentives on there, and the channel focus moving forward, we will try to make it Pokemon content. We'll go with that because I mean, I don't know, most of the time I'm going to be streaming. I stream daily on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DaYoshi. It's Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and on the weekends, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It probably won't be Pokemon, maybe it will be Pokemon, but most of the time I am a PvP Scrub Lord. Still no shiny Torchic. We're at 305 right now. And yeah, we will see you all when we see you. Take care, everyone.